Hello, YouTube. It's a time to pour one out for the Bears, meaning they are down and out, or RIP. These Bulls just can't stop, won't stop. We pop flag over and over. Pop flag, pop flag, pop flag. And after we blew through yesterday's high of the day, which is the Powell range, at 439.06, we just went higher and higher and higher. Daily volume is also ticking up a little bit, which means that I think these Bears are quite frustrated, and it appears like they are starting to fold with hundreds of millions of dollars flowing bullish this week, or a put call ratio of 0.24. There's an error with our dial there right now. There is a lot more flow coming into the calls than to the puts. So we're just give this a second here to load, and then we'll take it from there. All right, so we can just note here that Tesla has 335 million in calls, NVIDIA 284, NDX 280, LRCX, another chip, 200, versus some other stocks here, which just don't have quite as much. So it's definitely skewed bullish. And this is important because going into OPEX tomorrow, we want to be paying very close attention to that. And as we look here to the broader market, after we've left this like a lockout period where we're just gapping, we note some charts are going to new highs. Apple closed its new all-time high today and record close. Pop flag, pop flag, pop flag. So at some point, we're going to flag out. Until then, this looks pretty constructive. If we look at it's looking more constructive. If we look at year to date, this doesn't look, it just looks like dispersion where there's a lot of strength, a lot of weakness, but it's not looking as good. We look at the last month. Okay, looking better. All right. So that means in the last 30 days, we're doing better than we've done year to date. Looking at the last 7 days, so leading up into Powell, after Powell, we got Apple up 4, NVIDIA up 13, Microsoft up 7.5, Meta up 8. These are big numbers, and I think it's coming at the expense of some bears because, as we noted on the weekend, going back to 2020, 2018, 2016, or previous periods where there's been a very big short, they capitulate, they come back down to double down, and then it just that usually leads to new all-time highs. So this time here, what do we have? Big short, capitulate. They just continue to add. June expiry happens. They cover 100,000 contracts roughly, and now we're a lot higher. So that's where I think we're getting the fuel. It is a bear-fueled rally. So if we understand all that, I want to look at one different chart here because looking at 3% on the week for SPY, 442.50 going into OPEX, big numbers. If we look back here to the pivot point that we talked about back in, I think it was about March, it's almost been a straight line higher from there. So our turning point meant that we were either going to be turning to the upside or the downside, where these two MAs converged. Ultimately, we didn't even get a death cross or a 50 over 200, and we just slingshotted higher. We just did it. Just do it. So we look here to a hollow candle. And the reason why I like the hollow candle is because it just signals expansion. So we poke over the 50, get back below, bounce off. And ever since then, we only have 3 red candles. 1, 2, 3. So those 3 red candles just show us that those are periods where there was some kind of contraction. And they're small, right? They're basically dojis. Otherwise, it's just up. So what does that mean? Well, next week we have to be higher than where we are at the close of tomorrow. So if we close at 370, well, we better be over 370 next week, or we risk having to come back down for a back test. And we all know we take the staircase up and often take the elevator down. There's a lot of people chasing now. So let's just follow the TA and see what it tells us. In terms of data, red just means good for the market. And what do we see? We see a lot of red on here. Okay, cool, which means the economy is softening up, which means the Fed can finally ease, and there appears to be relief in the market. Let's see what happens with CPI coming out at 5 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. All right, now let's go back to those full candles because there's a few more things I want to look at here, but I'm going to ask you for a huge favor before we continue. If you could please consider smashing that thumbs up and subscribing to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. And thank you to all of you who smash a thumbs up and who aren't annoyed that we ask every day. I know it's one thing to watch a video, but it seems simple. When you're watching the video, you're telling YouTube, I enjoy this. But when you smash a like, you're telling YouTube, I'm not only watching this, I enjoy it. Go tell more people. So thank you very much for your support. It means a lot. So what I want to look at here is actually going to be the monthly chart. And that's just because we're taking out these relative highs here on QQQ, which means we could squeeze even higher. We got 370, 372, and 369. Well, we're up here to 371s. So we're getting awfully close to that breakout. And as this continues, we just want to look and see what the chart is telling us. Volume is strong. We're continuing to expand. QQQ looks perfectly fine. We look to the S&P. it's just going to, right? It's really good here. We see lots of lower tails. We see the expansion continue. And as we look to the battle for tomorrow, because tomorrow's payday. And as we just noted, when there's 4 calls bought for every put, it means we're getting a little bit of gamma squeeze or option squeeze, right? Bear fuel. And with volume from about 440 up here to about 445, I'll just be paying attention to these numbers because I was actually quite surprised that we got over. But when we did, it just continued to squeeze over 440. That's where we started to really go. So let's just pay attention to what converts to open interest, notably at about 440, 445. And then we're also going to be looking here to what's going on here. Is that correct? Let me just double check. June 15, June 16. Okay, well, I don't know if that number's correct. It looked like it was right before. Anyways, let's move on. Why? Well, because we're doing a live show and sometimes things don't always go perfect. So if we're looking here to the S&P now, because tomorrow's going to be Friday, make sure to come hang out with us for our end of day stream with Mason and I. What we're just going to look at here is going to be a simple pattern of what happens after the gap. Pop, flag, pop. So we're still popping. We can keep popping by continuing to get hollow candles and going to higher highs and higher lows, or we're going to flag out. So if we now think about who are our leaders, again, there's that volume going up. So we looked at Apple, AAPL. Here's what I find really interesting about Apple because it looked like it had all the warning signs. It was going to be a sell the news. Volumes there. We get a bearish engulfing candle right around the low and ends up just being a pivot. And what do we have now for Apple? Apple joined what NVIDIA did before, right? So NVIDIA leads, Apple follows. Where's the rest of the market? Let's look at Microsoft after. It's up. Microsoft Apple after. It's up about 3% today. Oof, that was hard to get out. New record close for Apple. New record high for Apple. What does that mean? No matter how hyped up we were on WWDC or the Worldwide Developer Conference for the VR set, I think it's called Vision Pro. No matter how much hype we had, the market went higher. So that's a really strong signal. That's all we can say. It's a strong signal. The market likes Apple. Record close, record high. Let's look at NVIDIA. Record high, record close yesterday, dojing out today. So we got a higher high, higher low. It's just consolidating over the previous all-time high. I'd like to see that from Apple tomorrow. Why? Well, let's just look at these stocks one by one in order of market cap. And is Amazon still bigger than NVIDIA? Yeah, it is. 1.2. And we got 1.05 for NVIDIA. All right, let's just go through these one by one. Why? Well, it's OPEX tomorrow, and look at the round number we're at. We squeezed over it. 185 for Apple. Okay, 185. Pattern looks good. There's the gap. Pop, flag, pop, flag. Okay, cool. Moving on. Microsoft. There's our gap. There's another gap. What do we have? Pop, flag, pop. Probably going to flag. That's a new 52-week high. I was looking at the number actually earlier for Microsoft. Let's zoom out for a second. I just want to see. Whoa, okay. Let's go to a 1 month. Might have actually gone to that. This is a record. I'd have to go back to 2021. Let's just double check here. No, we got some closes over here. So we got a couple closes over. I think we're looking for about 340, or hold on here. Yeah, 348. Right now we're at 3. Hold on here. Did Microsoft join the party? Yes, it did. Okay, well, I'm doing this live. So Microsoft here is at a record close, not a record all-time high, but record close. And as a roughly $2.5 trillion market cap company, that did it. So there we go. Microsoft had a record close. Microsoft next. Let's look at Goog. Goog is not at a record close, but it's not bad. There's the gap. There's the pop. There's the flag. There's the pop. There's the flag. Looking at Amazon. All right. There's clearly a big win for the bulls. So let's just get rid of that now. Let's delete it. Where's our gap? Well, there's probably a few on the chart here. There's one, never actually got filled. Second gap, pop flag, pop flag, pop flag, pop. This one's a lot more constructive because it was a lot more oversold. Amazon looks good. Looking to NVIDIA, we already talked about this one here. Massive gap, pop flag, pop. Right, we're flagging out over the previous top. That's bullish. So as long as we remain over the previous all-time high and over the gap, looks constructive. Meta, pop flag, pop flag, pop. Yeah, looks good too. Looking forward here to Tesla. Actually gap down. So gap down, got bought up, and it just hasn't looked back. There's our most recent gap. Right, pop. It's just starting to flag out. Tesla is the newest one to try to join the party on a gap. And there we go. So that pretty much wraps it up. And the other thing I would note here is that on a weekly perspective, a lot of these charts look more constructive, like RSP. punching through our February low here, right? New 52-week, almost to 52-week highs. Looking pretty good here. W complete. Let's see if there's more juice. And looking to the Dow, this one looks a lot better than before. So this is the uptrend I was looking at. It's been battling with it. A couple of traps, bounce off the 50, reclaim the uptrend. It's looking good. Actually looking a lot better than I would have expected. Looking here to the Russell as well. Up by 1.3 on the week, digesting its move. Looks constructive, even with the death cross there. And then here's the interesting part. As we look to the rest of the world, this isn't just an America story. So FXI or China is up by 4.5% this week, just pushing over its 50 MA. We look forward here to emerging markets, 2.91%. That is pretty big, right? Over the 50 MA, pushing off. Then we look to the DAX. Let's look here to the DAX. Close for the DAX here at a record is 16,275. We're at 16,290. Is the DAX going to do it and go to new all-time highs? Bull party continues. Let's tune in tomorrow and come to that Friday stream. If not, if you want to see our weekend thoughts on how the stage was set, and now we got those big explosive moves, that is over here on the left. If not, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.